Welcome, Gill Westaway, Director of the British Council in Sri Lanka and someone who has been with Project English since its very start. Gill, if you could tell us, what does the English language mean to you personally and professionally?
I think it means an enormous amount to me. My career in the British Council has been very much centred on English and English language teaching. I joined the British Council as an English teacher in Latin America. I went on to develop IELTS, which has become so well known all over the world. I then went out to Kenya and managed a series of development projects in English all over the country. I set up a teaching centre in Nairobi for the first time. I then went to Indonesia and continued to work in language teaching, set up language centres in 13 state universities all around Indonesia. Then in the Philippines, I led on ELT, and in Sri Lanka, the British Council's operations are centred around English, really. So it's been the backbone of my career and something which I've always taken a very keen professional interest in.
What do you think should be the role of English language in the education framework in Sri Lanka?
Well, I think that after years of neglect, shall we say, after the introduction of the single-only policy in the 1950s, the Sri Lankan government and the Sri Lankan people have realised that there are at least a couple of generations of Sri Lankans who have grown up without a really solid English language education, and they're finding that that's holding them back. It's affecting the employability prospects of many young Sri Lankans, including those who graduate from the state universities. It's some associate it with the causes of the conflict and claim that if English had remained the main language of instruction, some of these ethnic tensions would never have surfaced.
That's absolutely fascinating.
But I think that the awareness of the importance of English has certainly come back with a vengeance, and the President of Sri Lanka declared the year 2009 as the year of English and IT, and has mobilised a whole team of people to work with the Ministry of Education, with the private sector, with the IT experts, to really see if of the teaching of English can be improved so that English no longer is perceived as the language of the elite and becomes a life skill for as many Sri Lankans as possible. So that obviously is very important for the British Council, and we're trying to do our best to work alongside the Presidential Advisor for English to strengthen English teaching throughout the country. And we have a number of other initiatives supported by the business community, for example, where we have a cascade teacher training project which really focuses on English teachers in the rural areas.
Gill, you've watched Project English grow from its very inception. You're there at the first policy dialogue, the second policy dialogue. Now we are here in Delhi for the third policy dialogue. Can you just outline very briefly the kind of milestones you have seen this project achieve in these 2 years?
Well, yes, as you rightly say, I was part of the original group that sat and thrashed out the mission statement and the objectives and the outputs. And I think back then in late 2006, early 2007, we had great aspirations. But I think it's true to say that 3 years on, we have actually met many of those aspirations. I think that the scale of the outreach that this project has achieved in a fairly short period of time is really quite impressive. And I think, as Martin Davidson said in the opening to the conference, numbers and scale of ambition doesn't have to mean a dilution of quality. You can still aspire to deliver quality English language training, but reach out to more and more people. And I think between us in India and Sri Lanka, we've set up a lot of very powerful projects in both the state sector and the corporate sector. So it's really very exciting. As far as the conferences have been concerned, I think each conference has in its own way been a milestone. And I think they've all been very well organised. But I think that looking back, you can see how we've learned as a group of people, as an organisation, and we've learnt lessons from one year to the next. And I think that the quality of the organisation and the way in which the content has been themed and structured is really very professional. And I think the feedback that I've heard from all the participants has been very positive. I've liked the way in which panel discussions have been used on this occasion. I think there's been a good mix of speakers from the UK, but also a lot of Indian speakers, and we've brought in resource speakers from Sri Lanka as well. So I think as an event, it reflects very well on the British Council and what we have managed to achieve in this region in the area of English language teaching, and I'm certainly very proud to have been associated with it.
Thank you, Gill. We were speaking to Gill Westaway, Director of the British Council in Sri Lanka. Thanks.